The cafeteria of Bethesda Naval Medical Center was never quiet at noon. 47 people, doctors, nurses, orderlies, recovering soldiers, filled every table, the air thick with the smell of coffee and disinfectant. Among them sat Chief Petty Officer Marcus Webb, a Navy SEAL with 3 deployments behind him and a shrapnel scar running along his left jaw like a crescent moon. He was still in his hospital gown, 2 days out of surgery, eating his first real meal since Afghanistan. That was when Lieutenant Harlan Cross walked in. Cross was the kind of officer who wore his rank like armor, broad-shouldered, polished, and perpetually certain that the world owed him something. He moved through the cafeteria like a man parting water, and nobody looked up because nobody wanted to be noticed by him. Everyone in that building had learned the particular skill of becoming invisible when Harlan Cross was in the room, except for Nurse Elena Vasquez. She was 26 years old, barely a year out of nursing school, and she had made the honest mistake of stepping into his path while carrying a tray of medications. The tray tilted. A paper cup of orange juice toppled and splashed across the lieutenant's pristine uniform. The room seemed to inhale at once. What happened next lasted less than 2 seconds. Cross turned, fury flashing across his face, and his open hand connected with Elena's cheek with a crack that silenced every voice in the room. She stumbled backward into a cart. The medication scattered across the floor. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. 46 people sat frozen in that awful, cowardly stillness that fear produces in good people when power misbehaves in front of them. Marcus Webb stood up. He did it slowly, deliberately, the way a man moves when he has made a decision so deeply that his body simply follows. He was still in his hospital gown, an IV line trailing from his left arm, and he walked the 12 feet between his table and Lieutenant Cross without hurry, without theatrics, without rage on his face. When he reached Cross, he stopped close enough that the lieutenant had to look up slightly, because Marcus Webb, wounded and barely standing, still carried himself like something immovable. He said nothing at first. He simply placed himself between Elena and Cross and let the silence do its work. Then, quietly enough that only those nearby could hear, he said, "You're going to apologize to her. Right now. In front of everyone in this room." Cross stiffened. "You have no idea who you're talking to." "I know exactly who I'm talking to," Marcus said. "A man who just hit a woman who was trying to help people get well. Rank doesn't change what that is." Something flickered in Cross's face. The first sign that a man accustomed to compliance was suddenly standing somewhere unfamiliar. Around the room, heads had lifted. People were watching now, and in the quality of that watching, something had shifted. These were not spectators anymore. They were witnesses. Elena, still trembling, her hand pressed to her cheek, looked at Marcus with wide eyes. He turned to her gently, the hardness in his posture softening the way iron softens near heat. "Are you all right?" he asked. She nodded, barely. He turned back to Cross. "The men I served beside would have given everything. Some of them did give everything, for a chance to come back to a place like this, to be taken care of by people like her. What you just did is a disgrace to every uniform in this building." The cafeteria was completely silent. Then from somewhere near the back, a single person began to clap. Then another, until the room was filled with it. Not the enthusiastic applause of a performance, but the slow, deliberate kind that means something. The kind that says, "We saw this. We will not forget it." Lieutenant Cross's jaw tightened, then loosened. Something in the room, in the accumulated gaze of 47 people no longer willing to look away, seemed to reach into him and loosen something he had kept fastened for a long time. He turned to Elena Vasquez. His voice, when it came, was stripped of its usual authority, leaving only a man. "I'm sorry," he said. "That was wrong. It was completely wrong." Elena looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded once, with a dignity that far exceeded the moment asked of her, bent down, and began collecting the scattered medications from the floor. 2 orderlies immediately knelt to help her. Then a soldier on crutches. Then a doctor still holding his lunch tray. Marcus Webb stood where he was, watching, until he was certain the moment had fully passed. Then he turned, walked back to his table, sat down carefully, because he was still 2 days out of surgery and his side ached badly, and picked up his fork. The woman beside him, an older nurse with silver-streaked hair, leaned over and said softly, "You didn't have to do that." He looked at her with calm, tired eyes. "Yeah," he said quietly. "I did." And in the way he said it, without pride, without performance, without any need for the words to mean more than they